man, what's going on? What's going on? You're tuning into the One Mic Music Network, live for you and yours and everybody in theirs. And right now, you're tuning in with the one and only NFA JayShawn, your baby mama's favorite rapper. And right now, I got a caller on the line. Caller, tell them who you are, where you from, and what you got going on.
All right. So my name's Justin. I rep the Midwest. I'm out here in Wisconsin, but I know everybody that's anybody in Chicago. So like they know me. I'm a videographer. I'm a DJ. I'm an event planner. I can pretty much take care of anything that needs to get done in terms of finding venues, in terms of setting up sound, in terms of doing music videos. I can do all that.
Nice, nice. That's what's up. So tell the people, man, like what cities you really be out there promoting it.
So I'll be out promoting in Chicago, in the suburbs, out in Green Bay, Appleton, Milwaukee.
Nice.
Sometimes I get out to
Green
the
Bay.
Sometimes get out to the Twin Cities. Got some people out there.
All right, all right. Yo, you know what? I'm a big Green Bay Packers fan, man. That's my team right there, man. You like the Packers too?
Oh yeah, they put on a clinic.
Yeah, man. That's my team. I'm always gonna rock
That
with them
defense,
forever.
that defense finally shored up a big glaring weakness was having another good pass rusher.
Yeah. What do you think about the team now?
I think once you bring in Parsons with more snaps, he's gonna wreck things for a lot of offenses. He's gonna wreck things because if you double team him, then you got Gary coming in. You double team both of them guys, somebody else is bound to come in. You can't protect what's going to keep happening.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that you haven't been really happy with the Packers for a long time, and I hear like some enthusiasm in your voice about them this year. Is
Yeah,
that
they shored up a lot of they shored up a lot. The addition of Micah Parsons was huge in terms of his performance and what he brings to the table in terms of just sheer athleticism. Like he's a top-notch athlete. What they gave up for him was a little excessive, but if if things continue to unfold the way they did against Detroit, and you got to think about it, he was only in the building for a week, so his experience and his knowledge with the defense is pretty minimal. So it can only get better from here.
what do you think about the quarterback?
I think Malik Willis is the better of the two quarterbacks. He's just not a downfield thrower. I think Willis is your guy that's going to get the hard yards. He's going to find opportunities and he'll take off and make them with his feet if he has to. I think the wide receiver core has gotten better now that they've got Golden out there. I think he's definitely stepped up the level of play of the other guys because now you got to look at it. These guys are all in the bubble. I think Dobbs is going to be gone after this season. I think you're going to see the Packers let him go. It's not worth to spend the money on a guy that's technically a three. Sure, he's a solid, you know, he's a solid playmaker and he's somewhat clutch, but I don't know. He's not somebody that you're going to pay big money for when you can draft somebody that can catch the ball too. The Packers are a team that is going to stay very young. They're going to find ways to build through the draft, and unfortunately, they overspent to get a top tier guy to come in, but the cap's supposedly going to keep going up, so maybe they'll have some room. Maybe they'll pull another rabbit out of the hat and find somebody else. There
If
was
you could
rumors of
choose,
Asante Samuel Jr. coming for a workout, so who knows?
if you could choose to have two wide receivers from any other team come on to Green Bay Packers, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a tough call. because there's a few decent receivers, but for them to come to Green Bay, I don't know. I think the players that they have now are sufficient. I just see that there's potential that you'll probably see a couple of these guys that they're like year 3, year 4, just about, their contracts are just about up. Like this is a make or break season for guys like Dobbs, guys like Wicks. These guys are just hanging on by a thread because there's young bucks coming right out of college that are going to beat them out of their role. All they got to do is learn the offense and learn how to catch the ball. And those two other guys are gone. The amount of drops that Green Bay had last year, half these guys are lucky to have a job. That's why they brought in Golden, was to be the number one guy to set the pace, to be the man. That's why you draft a wide receiver in the first round, because you expect this guy to be a playmaker day one.
Hmm.
And he's done a decent job so far. He's made a few catches. You know, um, but the thing that I like about Green Bay was 12 different people had a catch. It was either 10 or 12 people had a catch. So they're spreading the ball around. That's something that's important too, because then as a defense, you're going to keep them. You're going to keep a defense honest. They can't just put all their efforts to double up a receiver, to double up on Golden, or to double up on Dobbs, or to double up on whoever, because there's enough weapons out on the field that, okay, you want to double our receivers, the tight end's going to burn you. Oh, you want to cover the tight end with your linebacker, we're gonna expose that with the right routes. LaFleur has done a good job of figuring out how to beat teams that nobody else can. The problem is the games that should be gimme games, it seems like LaFleur's efforts aren't quite there and his motivation isn't quite there on sometimes, which, those are the trap games. That's why they call them trap games.
Yeah. So what are the better games that you've been seeing us play, and what are some of the weaknesses that you've been seeing us have out there in Green Bay Packer fields?
Well, the one thing that I would say is an area that needs improvement is corner. I
Hmm.
don't care that they picked up Hobbs, he's hurt. Don't care that they retained Valentine, he's mid at best. They don't have a shutdown stop gap corner that Jair was. They don't have that. They've got guys that are serviceable. If the blitz gets there, they won't have to cover long. They won't get exposed. But if teams start figuring out how to pick up the blitz and how to utilize enough protection to keep from getting Parsons and Gary and Van Ness, and that's going to be a big time problem for a lot of teams. Then you got Quay Walker that you can put on the blitz, or you can put him in coverage. The guy's got wheels and he's got range. That's another thing. And you got Cooper and Hooper. Like, these guys have been top notch ballers, dude. Like, that defense is young, they're hungry, and they've got a lot of talent. There's a lot of good picks on that defense. And I think, again, with Micah Parsons coming in, you got this veteran guy that's had 12 sacks a year the last 4 years in a row. I mean, that's huge. And that's even went as even being hurt. He didn't even play the one full season, still had 12 sacks. So, like, I mean, you can't ask for much more production out of a guy.
Yeah. Well, definitely. What do you see Green Bay Packers doing this year? Do you think you see
I
us
mean,
a
it really depends on three things. It depends on how well Jordan Love plays. in terms of decision making, in terms of understanding what his responsibilities are as a quarterback. Like I've seen a pretty decent amount of change in him this off season versus the last, but he settled down, he got married, he's like chilling out. Like last year he was out partying and fucking off before preseason it got out there. Like you don't
Yeah.
do that when you get the fucking big contract. The first thing you should be doing is settling the fuck down, like getting the fucking business. And I think that message from the fans resonated because this year he was adamant about like we got a real chance. And now that they brought Parsons in and some of these rookies that they picked up the last couple of years are now second, third year guys that are really clicking and they're really getting it. I mean, Green Bay could do well if they don't have a lot of injuries and these guys stay healthy and keep performing. That's something that's. I mean, there's so much talent on that defense. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty on the offense too. You got two great tight ends in Musgrave and Kraft, and you've got seven different receivers that you can choose from that are
Yeah.
all that are all decent. They're serviceable. I think Golden has potential to be really good. I think Jaden Reed is going to be something special. I think those two guys are the guys you keep and build around, and you shuffle off the other guys, and you bring in new players that exceed the expectation of what they're replacing. And I think that's kind of what they were trying to do this year was they wanted to bring in enough guys that they could stash one or two on the practice squad so that they'd have them in case of injuries and then be able to move forward with them potentially next year. But then you're going to have, next year's draft, yeah, they don't have a first round pick or I don't think a second round. So you're really going to be scrambling. I don't think you're going to pick up a wide receiver, as your first pick when you're kind of loaded at it, but they've seemed to do a good job in terms of picking up depth at offensive line where I thought they were really light this year coming into preseason. And with that guy that they picked up from the Eagles, that came in big time this week because the Lions were bringing a lot of pressure. And when Zach Tom went down, that was that was sketchy. And to not because last year they didn't have that guy that could step up. They lost some talent the last couple of years on offensive line, and injuries bit them bad. With Jenkins being hurt and Zach Tom was hurt for a while, and that's with Zach Tom being hurt now. It's like, well, that sucks because he's probably their best offensive lineman. He can literally play every single position on the line, and he's the most versatile guy you have, other than Elton Jenkins, who can also do the same. There's not too many players that you can say that play offensive line that you can literally plug and play at any position and they'll still be a Pro Bowl player at that position.
Now, I noticed that our defense was really horrible for like the last I don't know how many years. We were just letting everybody go through, and I mean Green Bay Packers
They
for
didn't
everybody
have a
that
run
was tuning
defense.
in.
That was the biggest problem. They were great at stopping the pass, and if they could get out, the strategy for Green Bay was to always come out with an early lead so that your defense was forcing them to pass because their run defense was terrible. And if they ever had to stop the run, it was like they didn't have a chance. And I think that's what Halfley worked on all offseason was trying to figure out how to utilize the personnel that they have to clog up the middle and to block things up and to stop things. And I think this was addition by subtraction. By getting rid of Kenny Pickett, they brought in a bunch of younger guys that really have a good motor that are in there that want to put pressure. And that Wyatt, he's been pretty decent, and Cox was decent. These guys are coming in and getting the reps now. That they were kind of buried in the weeds nobody really knew what they had. Green Bay obviously did, but everybody was saying that the biggest thing that Green Bay had to worry about was run defense. And I still think, even though they had a great outing against the Lions, who, in my opinion, don't have a featured back, they got two overhyped scrubs that everybody talks about being so great that they really aren't. They're not top tier backs. Now, had they done this to Philadelphia like this to week one, that would have set a statement. That you took out the top team in the league and you shut them down like that, that's where the rubber hits the road. When Green Bay can go to Philadelphia at Philadelphia, shut them down, put them out, and sweep them under the rug and move to the next team. The 49ers are the other team that's really got LaFleur's number. And I think this year is I think Green Bay does play San Francisco, and if not in the regular season, they'll probably meet in the postseason. But that's barring San Francisco having a bunch of injuries again and missing the playoffs, which I would love. I'd love to see Dallas not make the playoffs. I'd like to see San Francisco not make the playoffs. All these
Yeah.
teams that have all these jarhead fans that are obnoxious that, oh, we're the best team ever. And no, you're not. Sit down.
So really quick,
Yeah.
how are the Eagles, the 49ers, and Cowboys looking right now?
I think the Eagles might be still a threat. They got Saquon Barkley, but I just saw that they picked up another running back, Tank something or other, and that could be an okay move that might help them. To give an extra body on the team to give Barkley a little rest. But the Eagles are going to be tough. I really believe that they're going to probably take the East. It's not the Giants might be okay now that they got Russell Wilson. That's remains to be seen how well he's going to do there. But I mean, he can't. I don't think he's terrible.
Just for the viewers, where's Russell Wilson right now?
Giants.
Yeah, Seattle really let him go. That was dumb.
Seattle let him go, and then he went to Denver, and they
That
wanted him
wasn't
gone
smart.
immediately. Like the thing was that when he went to Denver, it was a no-win situation. The guy that wanted him so bad got fired, and they brought him in. When they brought him in, for the one guy that really wanted him to be there, they fired that coach, and the coach that had that they hired was such a pompous ass, and because Russell Wilson wasn't his pick and his guy, he just shit on him and said, "Well, I can't build an offense around this guy." And he's the problem because a coach is always going to try to throw somebody under the bus if they can't do nothing with them. But now he's at the Giants. It's like he had that spurt with the Steelers where he didn't do all that well either. I don't think the guy's washed. I just think that he's had a
Nah,
number. He's been in a number of teams that don't have good personnel and good coaching to where the systems work, and that he's
I think he did all right at Seattle, man.
yeah, he did all right at Seattle. I thought he was
I think
decent
he
there.
did amazing there. He stopped Green Bay Packers from going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah,
We were one game away.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Russell
stopped
Wilson.
us.
Russell Wilson deserves his flowers. He
Yeah.
went to University of Wisconsin for a year, and they won the Rose Bowl, which is basically the college football version of the Super Bowl for Wisconsin. Being that was forever the Big Ten championship was the Rose Bowl. So if you were at the Rose Bowl, that was the big deal for Wisconsin. Like they were in the Big Ten because the Big Ten and the Pac-10 always played at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. So the champion, that was the champion of the college, those two rival divisions. And now that they've got this all set up like a playoff system, it's far different. The bowls lost their meaning, and college isn't quite the same as what it was. Obviously, these players are getting paid now, so there's that whole aspect too. But when Russell Wilson was in Wisconsin, the fans really had something to talk about. The kid was amazing, and the funny thing is, he basically went to UW for after grad classes because he was already graduated at North Carolina State, where he went to college beforehand, and still had a year of eligibility. He wasn't dumb. He was a very, very, very smart guy. That's why it worked so well for him with Pete Carroll, because Pete Carroll was a coach that needed somebody that was very smart, that could pick apart defenses, that would understand what you're looking at in terms of footage on the film. And you can coach some stuff, but intelligence and football IQ, you have a learning curve. And some people catch the curve really well, and some people, like Jamarcus Russell, don't put in the effort. They just think that their sheer athleticism is going to get there, and then they're gone the next year. But that's football for you. The ones that work hard and they put in the effort, they stick around. The ones that don't aren't there much longer.
It definitely feels weird without having Aaron Rodgers there. It definitely feels like the air is like, whoa, this is something that we have to deal with, guys. It's brand new. It's still brand new for me. I
You
know.
know, yeah, and that's something to be said too. Like, Aaron Rodgers is playing in Pittsburgh, and he's probably gonna take Pittsburgh to the AFC Championship. They've got a strong defense. They've got a system that they've got good offensive line and a good running game. Aaron Rodgers has decent receivers. They're going to be a tough team. I really do. I hope that Green Bay's defense can shut him down when they play this year. But I also see that Aaron Rodgers doesn't make mistakes. And he's very calculated and understands what he's looking at every single time that he gets out on the field. He's that well studied and understands exactly what play is going to happen based on what position's going to, what guys are at what positions, and what, because he follows tendencies and he understands, like, he but I guess, he understands it all because he's been in the league for such a such a long time. So, it's a really, really tough time though. Like, I wish that he could have just finished his career in Green Bay, and they wouldn't have been trying to fuck him out of out of here so bad. But Gutekunst didn't want him there because that wasn't his guy. That's not his golden boy. He didn't draft him, and that's why Jordan Love is there. And I think that they missed on Jordan Love, that they could have gotten somebody much better that went to try to just leverage the team to put him in such a financial position like what Jordan Love did. Like, I don't think he earned that contract that he got. It was based on potential, not on result.
You know what really messed me up about Jordan Love? That he was looking sloppy when he first started playing.
Oh, he was absolutely fucking terrible when he started against the Chiefs when Aaron got hurt and he came in to fill in.
Yeah,
He was so fucking lost and didn't know what the
I
fuck
didn't
was
even
going
want to
on.
watch football no more. We were like down 6 games.
Yep.
Remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
was like, I don't even want to watch football. I didn't even
but
want to
see,
watch it no more.
that's because Jordan Love had to learn the Aaron Rodgers playbook. That didn't work out. That was too complex and too much. So they had to start all over when Jordan became a starter and start dumbing everything down because he's not that bright of a guy. So they dumbed everything down for him and then started building him back up on little stuff, and they coddled him and babied him to where they didn't want him throwing more than a 10-yard check down for like a year. All he was told to do is just play conservative, check it down. If you don't see it downfield, don't stretch it. Just take what you can get, and we'll just nickel and dime this team, and we'll win that way. And that's kind of what they did until they started opening up the field a little bit more. They had guys that could start running the deep route and get open. They didn't have that right away. Now they've got a bunch of guys that can stretch the field. You've got Reed that can go deep. You've got Golden that can go deep. Dobbs, I don't think he's got the speed to be a deep threat. He's got average hands. He catches most of the stuff you throw to him, but he just doesn't have that elite speed that I think you should have. Every team should have four guys that can run a 40 and four flat that got hands like super glue. Well, that's just my opinion. Like, if I
Yeah,
was
I
to build a
mean,
team,
I
because
don't
if I was to build
understand.
a team, that's how I would do it. I
Yeah,
would
I
I
don't
would draft the
understand why you're
fastest.
paying a guy all that money and he doesn't have hands like super glue and he doesn't have feet like lightning. I don't know how you're paying him all that money to miss the
Right,
ball. But listen,
right. You can't
that's
you
all
can't
we
teach
got.
speed.
Look, that's all we got for the people today. I definitely appreciate everybody who tuned in. And if you tuned in this far, go check out GQ.shop. That's JIKU.shop. You can also see it in the bottom of the screen. That website's helping a lot of people make money online. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you guys can see what it's all about. Also, go check out UMV. UMV's definitely doing their thing out there in Wisconsin. Go tell them about UMV real quick before we let them go.
All right, so I've had a TV show on public access in Chicago called Underground Vision. I've interviewed Do or Die, Crucial Conflict, Chris Calico, Cut Calhoun, and a bunch of others like Mike Jones too. So like you'll have to check that out. My show is up on Rumble. You can find it. It's Underground Vision, all caps, no spaces. Check it
There
out.
you go.
It's worth the watch.
I'll also put that in the link in the description below so that you guys can go check that out as well. And if you want to be on UMV TV, let me know. Also, if you want to get on this podcast too, let me know. You can promote yourselves. But you already know this is the late night hour with your boy NFA JayShawn. Go tell your girlfriend about this show immediately. But we gotta go.